Hello students, welcome back. We are on the chapter Agriculture. This is the third clip of that chapter, the continuation of the chapter from where we had left in the previous geography class. In between I had given you all English chapter. So we are continuing from where we have left in geography, that is the contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output. As we all know that agriculture is the main source of income for over 52%, 50, some say 52, so 52 to 70% of the population of the country is directly or indirectly involved in agriculture. So agriculture has been the backbone of the Indian economy through its share in the gross domestic product. Okay, so the gross domestic product, that is the GDP, has registered a declining trend from 1951 onwards. In 2010 and 11, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector, which makes more than half of the Indian population dependent on agriculture for sustenance. So even the recent survey suggests that more than half of the population of India is dependent on agriculture. Okay, so earlier it was 70%, now it has gone down to 52% of the population is dependent on agriculture. The declining share of agriculture in the GDP is a matter of serious concern because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to the decline in other spheres of the economy, having wider implication for society. So if our GDP of our gross domestic product, which registered a decline in the year 2010 and 2011, which shows that we are earning less and less through agriculture, suggests a negative implication on the economy of India, because major population of the country is dependent on agriculture. When this sector shows a loss or shows a decline, it means that major population of the country is earning less than it was earlier earning. The declining share of agriculture in the GDP is a matter of serious concern because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to a decline in other spheres of the economy, having wider implications for society. Considering the importance of agriculture in India, the government of India made concreted efforts to modernize agriculture. So looking at this loss, what did the government try to do? The government tried to bring in model implementation, like better variety of seeds, high yielding variety of seeds, and modern method of agriculture, bringing in scientific techniques of cultivation, then chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, all these things, even modern tools and implements, tractors and threshers, and all these things have been being introduced into agriculture with an intention to boost the GDP that we earn through agriculture. Establishment of Indian Council of Agriculture Research, ICAR, agricultural universities, veterinary services and animal breeding centers, horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology and weather forecast, etc. were given priority for improving Indian agriculture. So new colleges were being formed, establishment of the Indian Council of Agriculture Research. So some research centers were established with an intention to boost agriculture. Agricultural universities were formed, veterinary services of animal breeding, good hygienic conditions for the animals, like farm animals, for the bullocks and the sheep and goats and cows and poultry. So these were being taught at universities of agriculture, veterinary services, and then horticulture was developed. Okay, so all these were being done with an intention of again boosting the agriculture sector in the country. Apart from this, improving the rural infrastructure was also considered essential for the same. So if you want the farmers to take interest in agriculture, the farmers' health is also a great concern. So we have to, there should be medical centers, health centers for the farmers and his family. There should be Anganwadis, Balwadis. There should be schools in the villages where the farmer becomes literate. So all these were being taken into consideration just to increase the output of agriculture in the economy of India. From the table 4.1 in your textbook, it is clear that though the GDP growth rate is increasing over the years, it is not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. Okay, so if we look at the table given in our textbook 4.1, the agriculture sector, we can see 2013, the agriculture India growth rate of GDP and major sectors in percent, that is in 2013-14 it was 4.2, in 14-15 the agriculture sector was only 0.2, and 15-16 it is 1.1, whereas the industrial sector has shown a steady increase from 5% to 5.9% to 7.3%, and the service sector has again shown a better trend, 7.8, 10.3 and 9.2. So this is what the table shows. So from the table it is clear that the GDP growth rate is increasing over the years it is not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. So why is it so? Because the land that is cultivated is stagnant. We cannot increase more agricultural land. For that we will either have to cut the forests. All the fallow lands, all the land that was left untended, uncultivated have been brought into cultivation. All the wetlands, marshes have been brought into use for agriculture. They have been already converted into agriculture long back in 1970s. So now we don't have more agricultural land, so the stagnation of the land as per agriculture is the same. Whereas the population is growing, the people who are dependent on farming, the farmer's family is increasing, whereas the land is the same. So therefore the employment opportunities is showing a lower trend. Today, Indian farmers are facing a big challenge from international competition and reduction in the public investment in agricultural sector. Subsidy on fertilizers is decreased, leading to increase in the cost of production. So now the main problem for India is the global market, globalization, the entry of foreign players in the field of agriculture, and also the subsidy which was given on fertilizers has also decreased. Why? Because the price of the production of these fertilizers has increased a lot. Moreover, reduction in import duties on agriculture products have proved detrimental to agriculture in the country. So according to what the Global Traders Association, the tax levied on agricultural products has been greatly reduced. So there's a lot of import coming in from foreign countries, like Pakistan will send us onions, Russia and all send us wheat. Okay, so all these things are coming at a cheaper rate. So this is again a negative factor for the Indian agriculture. Farmers are withdrawing their investment from agriculture, causing a downfall in the employment in agriculture. So farmers are not taking interest in agriculture. They are rather investing their money somewhere else, or they are trying to migrate to the cities, and this is again a downfall in the employment in agriculture. When farmers have been facing so many problems and land under agriculture is decreasing, can we think of alternative employment opportunities in the agricultural sector? Can there be any alternative employment in agriculture? That has to be found out. So why are farmers committing suicides in several states of the country? Pick up the newspaper every day, daily, we will see that one or the other farmer has committed suicide, has killed himself because he's death ridden. He hasn't enough money to repay the loan that he has taken, and he cannot face it any longer. So it's a grave situation, a very bad situation for the agriculture sector in India. People who were traditional farmers are giving up their farming profession just for the sake of earning the livelihood. food security is another term that we have to look into in this chapter. You know that food is a basic need and every citizen of the country should have access to food which provides minimum nutritional level. Yeah, it is a common thing. We to sustain our energy we have to have food. If we go without food for a few days, we may not survive. So we have to have some minimum nutritional level, some food supply which provides nutrients to our body. In any segment of our population, if any segment of our population does not have this access, the segment suffers from lack of food security. So if any segment like the labor class or the domestic servants class or the slum dwellers, if they don't have a regular supply of food, we can say that this segment of population does not have access to the segment and they suffer for want of food security. The number of people who do not have food security is disproportionately large in some regions of our country. Okay, so some regions of our country are well to do. Like in Maharashtra, we may not face that much problem. In Maharashtra, in Punjab, in Kerala, we may not face that much problem regarding food security. But in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, in Orissa, in Rajasthan, we face a lot of problem regarding food security. There are many people who go without food, sometimes for days together. Particularly in economically less developed states with higher incidence of poverty, the remote areas of the country are more prone to natural disasters and uncertain food supply. In order to ensure availability of food to all sections of the society, our government carefully designed a national food security system. It consists of two components, buffer stock and public distribution system. So the government what they have done for, especially for those remote people, the people who are in a remote localities where food scarcity is more prone, the government has set up a plan. There are two options. It has two actual components, not option. It has two components. One is the buffer stock. Buffer stock means we keep enough stock reserved for the coming time, for time unseen, like the present situation which is going on. The year 2019, 2020, end of 2019, like December 2019 and the beginning of this year 2020, we have seen that there's not much economic activity happening in our country, leave alone in our country, in all over the world because of the COVID-19, because of the coronavirus scare. The economic activity has come to a standstill, including the agricultural sector. So this year we may not have enough crops growing. So is it a matter of great concern? Right now, no. Right now, no. Why? Because the government has enough stock in surplus. There's enough stock stored in godowns which can feed the entire nation for some time. But if this trend continues, if it goes into 2021, if suppose we don't find a proper cure for this coronavirus and the pandemic keeps on increasing day by day, we see new areas being quarantined. That means the virus is spreading, and if this keeps on going, a time will come when we will have to face food security. So the government right now has a buffer stock. This buffer stock sees to it that this stock is being distributed to the really needy. So how does the government distribute this crop or this food to the needy people? They have a public distribution system, PDS. If you must have seen, there are some ration shops in our locality. We have ration cards. Those who have ration cards can go and avail food for free right now. The government is giving 20 to 25 kgs of wheat, 20 to 25 kgs of rice to families free of cost. Dal at a very cheap price, 50 paise per kg or something like that. In 6 rupees you can buy 8 kgs of dal. So the government has seen to it that the poorest of the poor don't go hungry. This is through the food security system, that is the buffer stock, and the public distribution system. Even those in later stages, when even the lower middle class or the middle class will find itself unemployed, they might have to depend upon the PDS, public distribution system, for their regular supply of food. As you know, PDS is a program which provides food grains and other essentials commodities at subsidized prices to below poverty line people, BPL population, below poverty line. They have a particular ration card. Ration card has certain color. I think white is for those who are from the better off, well off to do. Then there is that orange color, and then there is the yellow color. So the yellow color ration card is for the people who are living below the poverty line, for the poor people. So this food security especially is designed for the people living in this BPL category. India's food security policy has a primary objective to ensure availability of food grains to the common people at affordable prices. So, why is this PDS set up? To see that the food is available to the poorest of the poor at affordable prices. It has enabled the poor to have access to food. The focus of the policy is on growth in agricultural production and on fixing the support price for procurement of wheat and rice to maintain their stocks. Okay, so the government has enabled this so that the poor could access the food, and the main focus lies is on the policy of the growth in agricultural production, so that a particular price is fixed. At least the farmer gets a regular income of what he is growing, that what crop he is growing is not wasted, is not used only as food for self and food for fodder, and that it is sold in the market. The FCI, the Food Corporation of India, is responsible for procuring and stocking the food grains, whereas distribution is ensured by the public distribution system. So the Food Corporation of India sees that the crops are grown regularly. They encourage the farmers to grow the crop. And how do they encourage the farmer to grow the crop? When the farmer is growing the crop, at that time itself, the FCI, Food Security of India, they approach the farmers and ask them to grow a particular kind of crop, and they fix a price that we are going to buy a crop at so and so price. That means before the farmer can sow the crop, his crop is sold. His crop is considered to be sold to the government. In this way, the food production is ensured by the FCI, the Food Corporation of India. And when the food is produced, when the crop is grown, it comes to the market, it comes to the storing centers, and from there it is distributed to the PDS, to the public distribution system, from where it is given to the poor people. The FCI procures food grains from the farmers, and the government announced minimum support price. Okay, so the FCI, they take it from the farmer, they buy these crops from the farmer at a minimum support price. So the minimum support price is already fixed for the farmer, irrespective of the type of crops that is grown. They will ensure that कम से कम आपको इतना पैसा मिलेगा. अगर इतने क्विंटल आपने हमको बेचा तो पर क्विंटल आपको इतना पैसा मिलेगा. So that is the minimum support price that is fixed by the FCI, Food Corporation of India. The government used to provide subsidies on agricultural inputs such as fertilizers, power and water. These subsidies have now reached unsustainable levels and have also led to large scale inefficiencies in the use of these scarce inputs. So first, what government is to give subsidy to the farmer by providing them water, by providing them electricity at subsidized prices. But the farmers, they began to misuse the subsidies granted to the farmers by the government. Okay, so now we cannot sustain, it's beyond our bearable level because of the large scale inefficiencies. They're not making efficient use of the free water supply given to them, the free electricity given to them. Therefore, the government has withdrawn the subsidies on these things. Excessive and imprudent use of fertilizers and water has led to waterlogging, salinity, and depletion of essential micronutrients in the soil. So, when fertilizers were provided to the farmer at subsidized prices, the farmer made एक्स्ट्रा यूज़ ऑफ द फर्टिलाइजर्स, थिंकिंग दैट अगर जितना ज़्यादा खाद डालेंगे, जितना ज़्यादा फर्टिलाइजर डालेंगे, उतना अच्छा अनाज उगेगा. बट दिस बैक फायर्ड. For some time it was okay, but it backfired. And the same thing happened with the water. When water was provided free, the farmer was using enough, more water. So by using such a lot of water, the ground cannot sustain. The ground is not accustomed to so much water. The soil is not accustomed to so much water. So the water begins to stagnate. Again, this was again harmful for the crop. And the change in crop pattern, everybody wanted to grow crops which required a lot of water. Like nobody was growing pulses, dry crops. So there was a change in the crop pattern as well. The high MSP subsidized in input and committed FCI purchase have distorted the cropping pattern, which I have just told you. Wheat and paddy crops are being grown more for the MSP, maximum selling price, that they get. Punjab and Haryana are foremost example. This has also created a serious imbalance in the intercrop parities. So only paddy, that is wheat and rice, are being grown by most of the farmers because these gives the maximum selling price to them. So they give the maximum benefit is in the sector of growing wheat and growing rice. So the farmers have shifted from cultivating the other crops. They don't want to cultivate maize, they don't want to cultivate pulses, jawar, bajra. They all want to cultivate wheat and rice. So there is a scarcity in the other crops. So the cropping pattern has also changed because of the subsidies being given to the farmers. You already know that the consumers are divided into two categories: below poverty line BPL and the above poverty line APL. With the issue price being different from each category, however, this categorization is not perfect and the number of deserving poor have been excluded from the BPL category. So the government has some sort of a criteria where they have the below poverty line and the above poverty line. But this is not a tried and tested method. Many of the poor people who actually deserve to be in the BPL line, BPL category, they don't come under the BPL category. They don't fall into that category. And they are denied of the rightful subsidies that the government is providing for the poor. Moreover, some of the so-called APL slip back to BPL because of failure of even one crop, and it is administratively difficult to accommodate such shifts. Okay, and being in the APL above poverty line is not a permanent thing. You might slip from the APL to BPL. अमीर से गरीब हो सकते हैं. अगर आपका बिजनेस फ्लॉप हो गया, पापा की नौकरी चले गई, घर में कोई कमाने का साधन नहीं रहा, तो फिर जो पहले अबव पॉवर्टी लाइन में थे वो बिलो पॉवर्टी लाइन के आने के काफ़ी चांसेस बढ़ जाते हैं. बट द गवर्नमेंट कैन नॉट अकोमोडेट. अचानक से इतना बड़ा शिफ्ट वो गवर्नमेंट अकोमोडेट नहीं कर पाती है. ईच डिस्ट्रिक्ट एंड ब्लॉक कैन बी मेड सेल्फ सफिशिएंट in food grains production if government provides proper agricultural infrastructure, credit linkages, and also encourages the use of latest techniques. Okay, so if the government makes proper effort, so each district and each block can be made self-sufficient in food grains. For example, the Vidarbha can take care of its own region, Nagpur can take care of its own region. Okay, the rural blocks can take care of their own food security. Okay. Instead of concentrating only on rice and wheat, the food crop with a better growth potential in that particular area must be encouraged. So how can we increase this food security of that region? So instead of concentrating on growing wheat and rice, because wheat and rice require certain climatic condition, certain weather condition, certain soil condition to grow. But since these are gaining maximum profit people are trying to grow these crops, wheat and rice. Since plenty of water is now available through irrigation, since chemical fertilizers are there, since insecticides and pesticides are there. But this shift is not correct because the climate type, the soil type does not support. So if you grow only those crops which the soil type provides you, with the climate allows you to do, it will be much beneficial for your own district, for your own blocks. Creation of necessary infrastructure like irrigation facilities, availability of electricity, etc. may also attract private investment in agriculture. So the private players can invest in agriculture. Those who have got a lot of money, those who are capitalists, can invest in agriculture if you provide them with irrigation and if you provide them with a regular supply of water and electricity. The focus on increasing food grains production, which should be on sustainable basis, and also free trade in grains, will create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. So how can poverty be reduced in rural areas? If you focus on increasing the production of food by free trade of grains, by massive employment, and this will help in reducing of poverty. If the fields are cultivated, the people from the village can be employed. If a big farmer has a big field, acres and acres of field, he can employ people from his own village into this sector, and it becomes a source of earning for those poor people who are dependent on agriculture. There has been a gradual shift from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oil seeds, and industrial crops. This has led to the reduction in the net sown area under cereal and pulses. So again, another problem in agriculture is that shifting from cereal and pulses to oil seeds, vegetables, fruits, and crops which are required for the industry, such as cotton and jute or sugarcane. So now people are not cultivating cereals or pulses. Cereals such as jawar and bajra, pulses such as dal, masoor dal, moong dal, tur dal. The people are shifting from this agriculture to the crops which are in greater demand for their own particular benefits. This has led to the reduction in the net sown area under cereal pulses. With a growing population in India, the declining food production puts a big question mark over the country's future for food security. If we keep shifting from food grains to fibers such as cotton, then we may not have enough food grains to provide to the entire population of the country, because the population is growing. The competition for land between non-agricultural uses such as housing, etc., and agriculture has resulted in the reduction of the net sown area. You must be noticing that new colonies are coming up in and around the city. Especially the new areas are where once upon a time where there used to be farms and fields, there has now been colonies. So the green belts are being converted into the brown belts. The yellow belts, the green and the yellow belts, green comes on the forestry, the yellow comes on the agriculture. These two belts are now rapidly being converted into brown belts, that is the belt where cities and complexes are being set up. This again is reducing the net sown area for agriculture. The declining trend, the productivity of land has started showing a declining trend. Fertilizers, pesticides and insecticides, which once showed dramatic results, are now being held responsible for degrading the soil. Okay, now since the farmers have overused the fertilizers, the chemicals and the insecticides and the pesticides, now it is showing a negative effect on the land. They are being responsible for the land to be converted into bad land. Periodic scarcity of water has led to reduction in area under irrigation. Efficient water management has led to water logging and salinity. So at some times there is a periodic scarcity of water. When the water is in plenty, the water is supplied to the field. But when there is scarcity of water, the water is not reaching the agricultural land. At times there is so much water being provided to the soil that the soil becomes alkaline, the soil becomes salty. Too much of water brings too much of minerals into the soil. Too much of minerals will leave the salt behind. The plants will use the minerals and the salt is remaining behind. So this is a great threat for the land and it becomes infertile. One important reason in land degradation, free power to the section of farmers has encouraged them to pump groundwater to grow water intensive crops in low rainfall areas. Rice in Punjab, sugarcane in Maharashtra. So now when the government had given them water for irrigation, they have provided free water, free power. Water was given through irrigation and then they started giving them free electricity. So what did the farmer do? They began to dig a deep bore well in their farms and they began to pump out the water from the ground. So what happened? This began to reduce the water level, the groundwater level, the table. So the balance is being disturbed. The balance of soil and the balance of water under the surface of the earth is being disturbed. Why are the farmers doing this? Because certain crops require more water. Crops like rice and sugarcane, they require a lot of water. So the farmers are exploiting the groundwater table just for their own particular benefits. The unsustainable pumping has reduced water storage in the aquifers. Aquifers, what are aquifers? The groundwater resources called the aquifers. Consequently, many wells and tube wells have run dry. This has pushed the marginal and small farmers out of cultivation. So the rich farmer, he will dig a deeper bore well, and the poor farmer who was depending on his well, the lined well, unlined well, his well is running dry because his well is not so deep. All the water from his level has been soaked up by the pumps. So there is no water in that particular poor farmer's well. So again he is greatly affected. The big farmers with deeper tube wells still have water, but many other face a water crisis. Inadequate storage and marketing facilities also act as disincentive for the farmer. So once the rich farmers will have water, but the poor farmer will face a shortage of water. Apart from this, they don't have enough storage facilities. Many times the grains are kept outside the storage compartments, outside the godowns, and there are so many rodents, rats and cats and dogs and don't know what, insects, all are feeding on the grains which is lying outside in the rain, in the sun, and the crops are rotting in the outside. So if we have proper storage facilities, if we have a proper technique of selling them, advertising these crops, the farmers may not face the hardship that they are facing today. Thus the farmers are badly affected by the uncertainties of production of market. They suffer from the double disadvantage as they pay high prices for inputs such as the HYV seeds, fertilizers, etc., but lack the bargaining power to fix prices in their favor. So the farmer has double disadvantage. कैसा double disadvantage? एक तो महंगे में खरीदो क्या फर्टिलाइजर, ये HYV सीड, हाई यील्डिंग वैरायटी ऑफ सीड्स, इंसेक्टिसाइड्स, पेस्टिसाइड्स, फर्टिलाइजर सब महंगे में खरीदो, लेकिन जब क्रॉप अच्छा उगता है तो इसको बेचने के लिए जब जाते हैं तो उनको वह प्राइस नहीं मिलता जो वह चाहते हैं. तो कभी कभी क्या अपनी भरपाई भी वो नहीं निकाल पाते. दे आर अनेबल टू गेट देयर ओन कैपिटल दैट दे हैव इन्वेस्टेड. All the production reaches the market simultaneously. The higher the supply, the lower is the demand. This causes distressed sale also. Therefore, there can be no food security without the security of the small farmers. तो जब खेती जब होती है, तो जब कटाई होती है तो सब फार्मर्स एक साथ कटाई करते हैं और एक साथ मार्केट में बहुत सारा अनाज आ जाता है. जितना अनाज मार्केट में आएगा उतना उसका दाम गिरेगा. तो बेचारा गरीब किसान क्या करे? जो बड़ा किसान है वो जैसा तैसा वो मैनेज कर लेगा, लेकिन जो गरीब किसान अपने एक छोटे से खेत पर निर्भर करता है वो क्या कर पाएगा? ओके, तो ये और भी जो सिक्योरिटी जो है फार्मर्स की जो सिक्योरिटी, फूड सिक्योरिटी है, उसको और डिप्लीट कर देता है. सो इम्पैक्ट ऑफ ग्लोबलाइजेशन ऑन एग्रीकल्चर, है ना. सी हियर as it given on this picture, this poster that I've pasted on your screen, agriculture acquired 17% of India's GDP in 2008. 60% of the population still depends on agriculture for livelihood. Agriculture occupied 43% of India's geographical areas. Agriculture scientists are applying new techniques and instruments in growing crops. Different state government of India are taking initiative to literate the farmers. So these are the impact which is coming in of globalization in India. So globalization is not a new phenomena. ये बहुत नया नहीं है, काफ़ी पुराना है. It was there at the time of the colonization. Even when the Britishers were in India, our cotton was exported to the foreign countries and their food crops came into India. In the 19th century, when European traders came to India, at that time too, Indian spices were exported to different countries of the world and farmers of South India were encouraged to grow these crops. Till today, it is one of the important items of export from India. So spice was the main reason. Spices and indigo from India were world famous. So the spice was the main reason for globalization. Even today, India is a leading exporter of garam masala, of spice from India. During the British period, cotton belts of India attracted the British and ultimately cotton was exported to Britain as a raw material for the textile industry. Cotton textile industry in Manchester and Liverpool flourished due to the availability of good quality cotton from India. So in what way India helped in boosting the economy of Europe, of England especially, of the Britishers? Cotton was exported from India to Manchester and to Liverpool, where there are large number of textile industries. The cotton from India was used as a raw material. The Indian cotton was very strong. It had a very strong fiber. So it was in great demand there. You have read about the Champaran movement which started in 1917 in Bihar, Gandhiji's movement. This was started because farmers of that region were forced to grow indigo on their land because it was necessary for textile industries which were located in Britain. They were unable to grow food grains to sustain their families. So Champaran, the Champaran Satyagraha by Gandhiji was launched. Why? Because these farmers were forced to grow indigo. इंडिगो मतलब नील है ना, आया नया उजाला चार बूंदों वाला, आपने कभी ऐड देखा होगा शायद. तो दिस इंडिगो वाज इन ग्रेट डिमांड अब्रॉड फॉर टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री टू whiten the cloth, cotton. So the farmers in Champaran in Bihar, they were forced to grow indigo rather than growing food crop. So it was difficult for their families to sustain, to be alive. Under globalization, particularly after 1990, the farmers in India have been exposed to new challenges. Despite being an important producer of rice, cotton, rubber, tea, coffee, jute, and spices, our agriculture products are not able to compete with developed countries because of the high subsidized agriculture in those countries. So, after globalization, especially globalization started when in 1990, introduced by our Honorable Prime Minister, late Rajiv Gandhi. He introduced globalization, but in the agriculture sector, it backfired. In the industrial sector, it is a wonderful thing, but in the agriculture sector, it backfired in a big way. Why? Because in foreign countries, the government is providing subsidies to the farmers, and the subsidies are of great extent as compared to India. There's a vast difference between the subsidies provided by the foreign government than the Indian government. So this has again impacted India in a negative way. Today, Indian agriculture finds itself as at the crossroad. Agriculture successful or to put more thrust towards development of the industries. Today, Indian agriculture finds itself at the crossroads. To make agriculture successful and profitable, proper thrust should be given to the improvement of the condition of the marginal and small farmers. If you want to improve the agriculture sector, then we have to see to it that the small farmers are taken care of properly by the government by providing them right kind of subsidies. The Green Revolution promised much, but today it's under controversies. It is being alleged that it has caused land degradation due to overuse of chemicals, dying aquifers, and vanishing biodiversity. So, once upon a time in 1965, this agriculture sector was okay. We had this green revolution. At that time, there was a boost in economy for the farmers, but because of the overuse of chemical fertilizers and overuse of water, the land has turned barren. The land does not produce that much grain as it used to produce initially. That means the farmer has to put in more and more chemical fertilizers, and that is degrading the land further. The key word today is Geni revolution. So now genetic form of agriculture has come into being. It's a new concept. The key word today is Geni revolution, which includes genetic engineering. Genetic engineering is recognized as a powerful supplement in investing new hybrid varieties of seeds. So, new hybrid variety of seeds have been included in the genetic engineering, which gives us more better yield and bigger crops. In fact, organic farming is much in vogue today because it is practiced without factory made chemical such as fertilizers and pesticides. So many people want organic crops, because organic crops do not have those harmful chemicals, insecticides and pesticides. Hence, it does not affect environment in a negative manner. A few economists think that Indian farmers have a bleak future if they continue growing food grains on the holdings that grow smaller and smaller as the population rises. So it is believed by the economists that because of the way the population is growing and the land is being divided, one day there will be no farmers in India of known repute, of farmers who can earn profit, because everybody will be having a very small land holding. India's rural population is about 833 millions according to 2011 census, which depends upon 250 million approximately hectares of agricultural land, an average of less than half a hectare per person. According to the population, जितना population है उससे अगर हम divide करते हैं तो एक किसान के पास में केवल आधी एकड़ ज़मीन होगी, और आधे एकड़ ज़मीन पे वो क्या खेती करेगा, क्या अनाज बेचेगा और अपने लिए क्या खाएगा। यहाँ पर वही किस्सा हो गया ना, नहाएगा क्या और निचोड़ेगा क्या। इंडियन फार्मर्स शुड डाइवर्सिफाई द क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न्स फ्रॉम सीरियल्स टू हाई वैल्यू क्रॉप्स। अभी जो हम बोल रहे थे कि इंडियन फार्मर्स ने क्या करना चाहिए क्या नहीं करना चाहिए, यहाँ पर सोल्यूशन यही आ रहा है कि द इंडियन फार्मर्स शुड डाइवर्सिफाई द क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न्स। थोड़ा डाइवर्शन लेना चाहिए एंड दे शुड गो टुवर्ड्स हाई वैल्यू क्रॉप्स। दिस विल इंक्रीज इनकम्स एंड रिड्यूस एनवायरमेंटल डिग्रेडेशन साइमल्टेनियसली। अगर वह ऐसा करते हैं तो क्या होगा, उनका जो एनवायरनमेंट जो डिग्रेड हो रहा है वो कम हो जाएगा और द सेम टाइम उनके कमाने के साधन बढ़ जाएंगे। बिकॉज फ्रूट्स, मेडिसिनल हर्ब्स, फ्लावर्स, वेजिटेबल्स, बायोडीजल क्रॉप्स लाइक जथरोफा एंड जोजोबा नीड मच लेस इरीगेशन दैन राइस एंड शुगर केन। अगर ऐसे क्रॉप्स को उगाए तो यहाँ पर क्या बोलते हैं, जो पानी जो लगता है वो पानी कम लगेगा। जैसा जैथरोफा और जोजोबा, ये जो मेडिसिन जो क्रॉप्स बायोडीजल क्रॉप्स है, ये कम पानी में भी उग सकते हैं। इंडियाज़ डाइवर्स क्लाइमेट कैन बी हार्नेस्ड टू ग्रो वाइड रेंज ऑफ हाई वैल्यू क्रॉप। और हमारा क्लाइमेट इतना डाइवर्स है, इतना अलग है, इतना वास्ट है कि हम आसानी से चाहे तो अलग अलग प्रकार के अनाज भी हम उगा सकते हैं। तो उम्मीद करता हूँ कि आपको एक चैप्टर अभी समझ में आया। आज अपना चैप्टर कंप्लीट हुआ है एग्रीकल्चर। हाँ, सो आई एक्सपेक्ट दैट वॉट एवर क्वेश्चन आई पुट फोर टू यू, यू आंसर देम।